Welcome back. The next step is going to be downloading and configuring the Git repository. Uh, First of all, let's show you how to do this. So let's do a search for eGIT Eclipse Git GIT. What we're going to use that for is a common source repository. In other words, if we have a team environment where we have 3 or 4 or 20 or 100 people working on the same project, instead of having to email solutions back and forth or creating a tar file and then sending that tar file and re-importing the project, there's a much easier way of doing it. Um, the the GitHub, what we're going to be using for our source repository, is a source repository that's hosted online. As a matter of fact, you can go out there and download just a ton of source code from different projects that people are working on that are public. So first of all, let's go to this. Now, once you have Eclipse installed, installing updates to the software is pretty straightforward. What you do is you go into Eclipse. Let me close this window. Forget all this stuff. Let me close this. Assume that I just started and I didn't go into any projects. Go into Help, Install New Software. Now, what you're going to have to know is the update site. Remember, we're using the Kepler version of Eclipse. So under the update site, under Downloads, it says eGIT can be installed in the following ways. You can download the update yourself, and I guess double click through setup and all that. But let's look for the update site. And I'm going to copy and paste that into here. Now, once I paste it, notice I have a whole bunch. This is actually Eclipse like main repository, so there's a whole bunch of different things we can look for. I know it's under collaboration because it's a source repository. Now, I already have one of the things installed myself, but I'm going to go through the motions anyway. CVS, the CVS client, that's another source repository. We're going to be using Git. So let's say, if you could select all the things with Git, the Git team provider, the Git team provider source code, and the GitHub integration with task focus interface. No other changes. It'll probably ask you to accept the license agreement. Do that when it comes up. Yep, here's the license agreement. It's going to download the software and install it. Now again, I already have the Git installed on my machine, so I have some repositories already set up and configured. No worries. So while this is going, um, yeah, the next thing we're going to do after this is complete is uh, do a walkthrough of how to use Git and how to use the GitHub service. Uh, how a project is checked into a repository, how that repository is pushed to the server. Um, the good news is this is a source code management tool. The same concept exists in almost every single package. CVS is one, GitHub's another, Team Foundation Server for Microsoft Visual Studio, that's another, Subversion's another. The nice thing about GitHub is that it's hosted online, and it's not a quote unquote academic thing. It's used somewhat commercially, more like private developers. Okay, so let's make sure this is complete. It asks me to restart like every other time. It's restarting. Very good. All right. Now, once you have software installed, the way I installed it, or probably if you download it yourself, once you have software that's installed, it's sort of like iTunes. Every time you start iTunes, you might get a minor update to a version. The same thing will happen with Eclipse. It'll say there's another version of GitHub, version 3.2.12, and you would download and install that. This is complete, I'm sure. Moving on to the next one. The next video is going to show you how to create a GitHub account and how to configure Eclipse to use GitHub.